The story begins when some former Special Forces soldiers are forced to become thieves. In their first heist, their leader approached the bank manager and, without mercy, shot him in the chest. The rest of the group panicked. The thieves perfectly controlled the security guards. They threw a Bluetooth speaker into the middle of the hall. A loud voice blared from within. "Everyone, lie down, put your hands on the ground." Upon hearing this, people immediately sat down in fear. The bank employees, terrified, quickly went and opened the safe. Everything was over in just 2 minutes. The thieves made off with $3 million, or approximately $250 million. As they left a motion-activated bomb. Then, the same loud voice resonated. If anyone woke up or called the police, the bomb would explode in 15 minutes. As they left, their leader glanced at a CCTV camera and shot it. In the blink of an eye, the thieves disappeared into the city streets. The FBI received the report 25 minutes after the crime. There was only one clue at the scene, a fingerprint on the bomb, and no other evidence. Secretary Jonathan couldn't understand how the theft was so easily carried out. Why did the thieves still kill the bank manager? Was there a deeper mystery behind this? To find out, Jonathan set out to find evidence, but his colleague told him the police had taken the bomb. Why was the police getting involved? This infuriated him. Infuriated, he went to the police station to find Police Chief Brian and asked him directly, "This is an FBI case. Why are you messing around? And hand over any evidence you've got." Hearing this, Brian became a little nervous. He explained that the fingerprint belonged to a man named James, who was formerly in the Special Forces. About 5 years ago, James and his team kidnapped some college students and demanded ransom. Then, when they didn't get the money on time, they killed them all. Then a different army unit went and killed all those rebel commandos, and now James's only family member is his younger brother, Ranger. The police assumed that since James and his team were dead, the Ranger must have committed the crime and, using some high-tech technique, they placed James's fingerprints there. But then Agent Wells brought word that the Ranger had been seen in a shop at the time of the robbery. "That's why we can't arrest him, because one person can't be in 2 places," he said. Jonathan realized that thieves were trying to mislead them. The way they were operating, they couldn't possibly be from the Special Forces, because no one would ever leave their fingerprints behind. They were either stupid or incredibly clever. While the agents were investigating the case, another theft occurred. This time, the thieves had forced the bank manager to open the bank account by threatening to kill his family. The manager put on an earpiece and went inside. Terrified, the manager sent everyone to breakfast and then opened the safe. Seeing the operation underway, the thieves headed towards the bank. As they entered, they encountered a female employee who was leaving. Terrified, she was about to sound the alarm, but the manager stopped her. The thieves played the same sound over the speakers and took control of the entire bank. This time they took not money but documents from the safe. And most strangely, they even had the injured guard treated. The female employee bandaged him. This suggested they wouldn't kill people without reason. So why did they kill the manager in the first robbery? The answer came a short while later. The third manager was about to leave for work in the pouring rain. Just then, a thief opened his car door, forcing him out with a loud bang. He was dragged and thrown onto the wet road. Before the manager could react, a knife was plunged into his neck. Blood slowly seeped into the rainwater. The thieves showed no mercy, even seeing his suffering, as if they had settled an old vendetta. Bank owner Jeffrey learned that 2 of his branches had been robbed. $3 million wasn't a large sum for such a large bank. More than the money, he was worried about the documents, which held a huge secret of Jeffrey's. Secretary Jonathan was deeply troubled after the consecutive robberies at the 2 banks. Besides that fingerprint, the thieves had left no other clue. What troubled him most was the fact that the thieves had killed the bank manager in one bank while saving the injured security guard in the other. Seeing this contradictory behavior, Jonathan began to wonder if there was some secret hidden in this case for which these thieves were going to such lengths. Afterward, Jonathan questioned the surviving bank manager. He didn't think he would be able to reveal anything significant, but the manager offered a new clue. Jonathan asked if Jeffrey, the bank owner, came here often. The manager explained that Jeffrey was a very wealthy man. He owned nearly 3,000 bank branches across the country. He didn't have time to visit these small branches. Even our largest branch, he only visits once or twice a year, so it's not normal for him to visit such a small branch. But the strange thing was that Jeffrey was coming to this small branch every day right at closing time. He would even check the safe himself. Hearing this, Jonathan immediately suspected something was amiss. Then a colleague broke some shocking news. Tracking the serial numbers of the stolen notes revealed that $3 million had been donated to a charity. The technical department confirmed that a fingerprint found on one of the bullets was James's. Jonathan was perplexed, wondering how a dead man could come back to life. But now, items bearing James's fingerprints had been found at both locations. He began to believe that there must be something to the old kidnapping case. Jonathan also instructed a colleague to keep a close eye on Jeffrey and uncover his secrets. The next day, Jeffrey arrived at the bank manager's funeral along with the area's leader. It was strange for such prominent figures to attend the deaths of managers of two small branches. Stockwell told Jonathan the entire story. Seeing such events, Jonathan's suspicions grew. Meanwhile, Brian, forced to investigate with Wells, found a witness. A security guard at a jewelry store had a habit of noting vehicle registration numbers if he suspected something was amiss. He had noted the number plate of the thieves' car and, upon checking, discovered it belonged to a ranger. Brian immediately ordered the ranger's capture. Meanwhile, at headquarters, Jonathan found a strange file. He thought it was an investigation report, but it turned out to be some photographs. The photo was of the area leader and Jeffrey. They seemed to be close friends. The photo was clearly sent by the thieves. Putting together all these clues, Jonathan decided he needed to speak to Jeffrey directly. The next day, he went to the bank headquarters and met with Jeffrey. He mentioned Jeffrey's deceased younger brother, who was a victim of a previous kidnapping. He was kidnapped by the Special Forces team and lost his life in the process.
Jeffrey remained completely silent to Jonathan's questions, offering no reaction. But then Jonathan asked another direct question. What was inside the stolen documents? Jeffrey's face turned red upon hearing this. Seeing this, Jonathan understood that Jeffrey's visit to that small branch was no mere formality. Jeffrey, enraged, called security and had Jonathan escorted out of the headquarters. At this point, the thieves began their third operation. This time, their direct target was the headquarters. The thieves were working very quickly, each man's role clearly defined. They quickly overran the bank's main lobby. Security was tight inside, and there was a rush of customers. But the thieves infiltrated with perfect coordination. At that very moment, Jonathan was being escorted out of the headquarters by Jeffrey's guards. Upon seeing the thieves, he quickly ordered everyone to lie down. People started screaming in panic and running in all directions. The thieves seized the opportunity and grabbed a security guard. Just then, Jeffrey appeared. The FBI immediately opened fire, accidentally hitting one of the guards. Jonathan also fired, injuring one of the thieves. It seemed as if the injured thief was dead, but when a security guard began fighting another thief, the dead thief suddenly stood up and attacked. Seeing the situation worsening, Jonathan first got Jeffrey to a safe place and then confronted the thieves again. But this time, the thieves were overpowering him. Only Jonathan, along with the injured security guard, managed to escape. By then, the thieves had completed their task. After a long battle, Jeffrey was left with only one bodyguard. He too collapsed from exhaustion. The most surprising thing was that the thief standing in front of him didn't attack the bodyguard. From start to finish, their only target was Jeffrey. The thief immediately ordered the bodyguard to drop his weapon, but then one of his accomplices arrived and shot him in the forehead. The leader yelled, "What are you doing?" But just then, Jonathan suddenly attacked, killed the murderous thief, and captured the leader. Seeing this, one of the thieves immediately grabbed a female employee so that he could exchange her for his friend's release. Later, the two sides negotiated and the exchange was finalized. Jonathan knew that if he released the thief, he himself would likely not survive. But surprisingly, the thief kept his promise. He released Jonathan and told his accomplices not to fire. Then all the thieves quickly left the scene. The FBI completely sealed off the entire crime scene and tried to find any clues from the dead thief's body, but they found nothing. Later, when the technical team examined the body, they discovered that fingerprints had been erased and all the man's teeth had been removed, ensuring his identification would never be confirmed. These thieves were extremely precise. Seeing this, even the agent suspected they were former Special Forces personnel. Just then, Brian received a call. His officer informed him that Ranger had been found. Brian and Wells immediately rushed to the scene. But inside the room, they found only Ranger's sister-in-law, Marta. She explained that after James's death, whenever Ranger visited, he would leave some money for her to support the children. Brian thought nothing would come of it. Then he received another report that Ranger had been seen in an old house. Perhaps the other thieves were hiding there as well. But Brian did not tell Wells this. It turned out that Brian's wife had been battling cancer for a long time, and Brian's meager salary was beyond her means to treat her. Remembering her wife's pain, Brian became even more compelled to make a drastic decision. The next morning, Jonathan received an unknown file. This file, too, had been sent by the thieves. Seeing it, Jonathan was shocked. It contained all of Jeffrey's crimes. The secret Jeffrey had been hiding for so many years was completely exposed. It was revealed that Jeffrey had orchestrated the major kidnapping that had taken place years earlier. His goal was to inherit his family's property without any division. He bribed a senior military officer to obtain an order to stop a fake terrorist. James's Special Forces team was immediately dispatched to the operation. The team thought they were going to kill a real terrorist. Therefore, they quickly raided the house and killed everyone inside. Without permission, later they learned they weren't terrorists, but unarmed college students. Jeffrey's younger brother was among them. The team couldn't believe it. They assumed the order was wrong. They immediately sent a report to the higher-ups. But before the truth could be revealed, another Special Forces team attacked them. James's team was unprepared, and in the surprise attack, they died one by one. After Jeffrey's brother's death, he inherited the entire estate. He bribed some army officers to declare James and his team traitors, thus concealing his crimes. To perfect his plan, he had already bribed 3 members of James's team. 2 were bank managers who were later killed by the thieves, and the third was a leader who had come to James's funeral. All 3 took leave on the day of the mission, using various excuses, and later testified against their own comrades. After James's team was eliminated, Jeffrey recruited them into his own team. One was made the leader, and the other 2 were managers, incorporating them into the banking system. That's why the bond between these 3 was so deep. Jeffrey thought his secret would remain hidden for life. He had lived a life of wealth and power for so long, but to ensure that he wouldn't be betrayed, he had hidden evidence that, if revealed, would expose everyone. But now the evidence was out, and the people behind it all were the surviving Special Forces soldiers from that mission. They slowly realized that Jeffrey had used them. He had had their own brothers killed by them. This never allowed them to live in peace. After leaving the army, they all decided to take revenge together. Their intention was simple: to punish Jeffrey and his associates. Jonathan understood the truth. He devised a plan and began to believe that Ranger must have some connection to this, and that the money Ranger was giving to Marta was the stolen money. He asked his colleagues to investigate the matter. Brian was also tracking Ranger. He confirmed that the money was hidden in the old house. Brian and one of his officers devised a plan to retrieve the entire amount before dawn. As the investigation deepened, major TV channels began revealing the truth. The atrocities committed against James and his team became clear. When Jeffrey saw this news, he knew his bad times were upon him. He quickly packed up and began preparing to flee. Jonathan also understood his plan.